You walk into a room and suddenly stop. For a moment, everything feels suspended. You know you came here for a reason, but the reason is gone. It feels like the thought simply dissolved somewhere between the hallway and the door. So you stand there, quietly scanning your mind, hoping the memory will return. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, a small worry appears in the background of your mind. Why do I forget things so easily? At first, it seems like a simple problem. Maybe you think your memory is weak. Maybe you blame distraction. Maybe you assume it's just part of getting older. But the psychology behind forgetfulness is often far more complex than it appears. For many people, forgetting small things isn't really about memory failure. It's about attention. Your brain cannot remember what it never fully processed. Memory doesn't work like a storage box where everything gets placed automatically. It works more like a spotlight. Only the things illuminated by attention are stored clearly. If your mind is busy when information appears, the brain never marks that information as important. It passes through quietly, unrecorded. This is why someone can hear a name and forget it seconds later. The brain simply didn't tag it as something worth saving. But attention is only one piece of the puzzle. There's another factor that quietly shapes how well we remember things: mental load. Your brain has a limited amount of working memory. This is the mental workspace where you hold tasks, thoughts, responsibilities, and plans. When that space becomes crowded, the system begins dropping smaller items. Not because they aren't important, but because the brain is protecting its processing capacity. Imagine your mind like a desk. If the desk is empty, placing a new object on it is easy. You see it clearly. You remember it's there. But if the desk is already covered in papers, notebooks, and unfinished tasks, a small item can disappear instantly. It's still technically there, but it gets buried. For many people who forget things often, the real issue isn't memory. It's cognitive overload. Modern life places an enormous number of invisible demands on attention. Messages, notifications, responsibilities, deadlines, decisions. Every one of these occupies a small portion of your mental bandwidth. Individually, they seem harmless, but together, they create constant background noise inside the mind. And when the brain is surrounded by noise, memory becomes fragile. There's also something else that many people overlook: stress. When the brain perceives pressure or emotional tension, it shifts into a different operating mode. The nervous system prioritizes survival and immediate action. Long-term storage becomes less important. The brain focuses on the present moment. This is why people under stress often forget small tasks, appointments, or details. Their brain isn't failing. It's reallocating resources. Another important factor is something psychologists call prospective memory. This is the ability to remember to do something in the future. For example, remembering to send a message later, or remembering why you walked into a room. Prospective memory depends heavily on mental cues. If your brain is interrupted between forming the intention and acting on it, the cue disappears, and the memory collapses.
It's like starting a sentence and suddenly losing the rest of the thought. The structure was there, but the bridge between intention and action broke. There's also a quieter psychological reason that sometimes contributes to forgetfulness: emotional avoidance. Not all forgetting is accidental. Sometimes the brain gently pushes certain tasks or thoughts away because they carry emotional weight. A difficult conversation, an uncomfortable responsibility, a task connected to anxiety. The brain may not consciously decide to forget, but attention drifts away from those things, and without attention, memory fades. This doesn't mean people who forget are careless. In fact, many people who experience frequent forgetfulness are highly thoughtful individuals. Their minds are often active, reflective, and constantly processing ideas. The problem is not emptiness, it's saturation. Imagine trying to listen to a quiet voice in a crowded room. Even if the voice is clear, the surrounding noise makes it hard to hear. Your brain works the same way. When too many thoughts compete for attention, small details vanish. And this leads many people to form a harsh conclusion about themselves. They begin to believe something is wrong with their mind. But in most cases, forgetfulness is not a sign of weakness. It's a signal that your mental system may be carrying more than it was designed to hold at once. Your brain is not a machine built for endless input. It's a living system that needs space to process, prioritize, and rest. Without that space, information begins slipping through the cracks. Think of memory like writing words in sand near the ocean. If the sand is calm and undisturbed, the words remain clear. But if waves constantly pass over the surface, the writing disappears quickly. The mind behaves in a similar way. Constant stimulation washes away small details before they can settle. But here is the important shift in perspective. Forgetting small things does not mean your mind is unreliable. It often means your mind is busy navigating a complex internal world, managing emotions, processing decisions, handling responsibilities, trying to keep everything moving forward. Your brain is doing far more work than you realize, and sometimes, when the system is carrying that much weight, small pieces simply fall away. Not because they don't matter, but because the mind is trying to protect itself from overload. When you understand forgetfulness through this lens, the frustration begins to soften. Instead of asking, "Why is my memory so bad?" the question becomes something different. What is my mind currently carrying? Because behind many moments of forgetfulness is not a broken memory, but a mind that has been holding too much for too long.